Yo, what's up people? This is the Cold Steel Code 4 and as you can see I am at work right now and I took this little break to show you this knife because this is my work knife for late spring and especially during the summer. I use this a lot and then a little bit in autumn. I don't use it during winter because the Code 4 has aluminum handle scales and they do get pretty cold in winter, at least where I live. And it's also a little bit thin for that time period. But the thinness of the handle is also a big strength of the Code 4 because it's nice and easy to carry, but yet really strong and stout in the blade. And the blade shape, as you can see, like I said, pretty stout, but still the tip is quite pointy and useful. As you can see, it has a long swedge on the spine, but the swedge doesn't run all the way to the tip, so it left a little bit of thickness there. But the swedge does support you when you do actually use this to pierce into things. And hollow ground blade, maybe I can show you this. It's not the deepest hollow grind, it's more like Chris Reeve and Cozy, where it has a hollow grind that is still robust and not flimsy at all, but it does get thinner as you resharpen the knife. Speaking of thinness, I think when I measured this knife out of box it was like 0.5 to 0.4 millimeters behind the edge. Not sure what that is in inches. I will blend you the specs in on the screen right now. CTS XHP on this model, I'm not sure how long I own this. I do own this since the XHP Code 4 came out, so you guys can look that up. I don't know exactly. I own it for a bunch of years, have used it a ton. Probably one of my most used knives, at least my working knives. Yeah. CTS XHP is a good user steel, and it is a good user steel because you can restrop it pretty often. Now, I want to mention that if you do forget to restrop it, you will have a little bit of time on the stone before you actually get it from dull to sharp, because XHP is not a steel that takes an edge easily and it doesn't take an edge too well. So I would definitely recommend you using diamond stones. I would recommend you to use diamond stones and then give it a little bit of a polish at the edge. Now, as you can see, my knife is, hopefully can you see this? I don't know. My knife is pretty polished at the edge, and that's because I tried out some new polishing compound. And XHP takes a polish also really well. Now, I wouldn't recommend it to over polish this knife because, like all powdered stainless steels, it does lose a little bit of aggressiveness if you do that. And the powdered stainless steels definitely need more aggressiveness at the edge, otherwise they don't cut as well. But you know, whatever edge you like is the best edge for your knife. So yeah, that's it about the blade. The thumb studs are nice and easy to use, asymmetrical thumb studs though, but you can, if you're lefty, you can put it on the other side. Action is pretty good for a back lock, like with most cold steel triad locks. Speaking of the triad lock is nice and strong, but yet easy and simple to use. Holds up really well over the time. As you can see, the knife is also nice and centered. It's not the best in terms of quality, the best cold steel that I have seen personally. There are definitely better built cold steels, but I can forgive it all those things for the money cold steel asked for it and the quality that is there in the blade, because the XHP steel on mine at least is really well heat treated. The overall build quality is quite alright for the 80 euros that I paid for it back in the day, and so I can't really complain too much about that. As you can see, I acid washed my pocket clip and I also replaced the pocket clip screws with some leftover Recon 1 screws. So the Recon 1 has screws on this side as well that it doesn't really need. It's just extra screws basically, and I used those to put in here to replace the reflective satin finished screws. And yeah, like I said, I acid washed the pocket clip also for the same reason, so it doesn't show up as well in the pocket, because the knife is quite noticeable with the reflective clip. Also bent up the very end of the clip, so it goes in and out of the pocket very easy. That being said, the aluminum scales are very nice and easy in your pants. They do not rip them apart like a lot of other G10 cold steels do. I still would wish this knife was made in G10, because I do prefer G10 over aluminum. Like I said, this would be a perfect knife to also be used in winter if it didn't have those aluminum handle scales. But it always depends where you live and what you do, and you may be alright with that even all year round. So yeah, the finger grooves are large, but they're not overly large. I have small hands, I can still fit my hand in there easily. The knife naturally puts you in a saber grip, but you can also hold it in a hammer grip. It does allow you to do that, but it's not perfect in a hammer grip. It feels more natural in a saber grip, and that's also true for most cold steels actually. Yeah, pretty nice weight for the size we're looking at here. I also forgot the weight, but I'll put it on screen. And I cannot recommend this enough for hard use working knife during the summer, because you can still cut things, but at the same time lift them up. The tri-lock will, the stoutness of the blade will allow you to do that. You can also lift up things that way, so you have up and down strength and side to side strength in that knife. I've pried apart a lot of things, have pulled some nails, have used the tip as a screwdriver. All kinds of things have been done with this knife that a knife shouldn't be used for, but this knife can forgive a lot of things and you still be good. So yeah, this is a really great, reliable knife. The only things that were not as reliable is that spring that sits in there. You know, the spring that releases the backlock basically. Sometimes gets pushed forward and then the knife won't open, but then you just give it a smack and it's good to go. Other than that, this knife is very simple and easy to maintain. I do basically never clean it except with water, and that's just fine. I do not use any oil, no nothing, just water, and that's good. And the knife runs pretty smooth, there's no scratching as I open it. As you can hear, no scratching, nice and smooth. The knife still is very easy to flick open. Yeah, like all tri-locks, the back lock, easy to flick. Put myself a leather lanyard on the back here, so it gets in and out of the pocket easier. Don't really need to do that. The aluminum scales hold up well to scratches, so they are not scratched up that easily like other aluminum scales from other companies, or with other finishes I should say. I have a couple of dents and marks here and there, but other than that, the finish holds up great. I do like the color, it's a nice and dark gray. Yeah, like the name suggests, Code 4, it's basically built for first responders. And I think it's a perfect knife for that, because it's thin, easy to carry, but like I said, really strong at the same time. Now, the newer Code 4s come in S45VN. Would I be mad if this knife was S45VN instead of CTS XHP? Not really. CTS XHP is a really great user steel, like I said, especially for the restropping capabilities that it has. If you do not restrop your XHP, you have to resharpen it more often, like with most knives, but XHP you can restrop at an insane amount of times and it still comes back to a really fine razor edge. I just restropped this knife this morning, and before that it was not razor sharp, and now it is, and that speaks for XHP and the restropping capabilities that it has. S45VN is a steel that you can restrop, but it doesn't respond that well to restropping than XHP, but it also sharpens up easier and takes the edge better usually than XHP. Now, I do not know how well the quality is going to hold up with the new cold steel company since it got sold, but the old one in XHP, they had a really good heat treatment, at least mine does. Quality was there, I think this is just a really great knife. Can't recommend this enough. Let's see how they will be in the future, but yeah. Which blade shape would I buy? Obviously I chose the spear point. I think all of them are pretty useful blade shapes. The Tanto maybe is not my favorite, but it's still nice and pointy for a Tanto. And the clip point probably with the Swedge bobber has the precisest tip. Now I did chose the spear point on purpose because I do like that a little bit robustness of the tip, but the same time being a good piercer and being nice and stabby still. And yeah, like I said, the hollow ground blade is just really nice in a working knife. And yeah, that's it for the Cold Steel Cold 4. I do really enjoy this knife, have it for a bunch of years, will be having it for a bunch of years. This is the perfect construction work knife during summer, spring, and maybe autumn as well. Yeah, that's it for today's video. I wish yourself a nice rest of your day and goodbye, people. Yo, what's up, people? This is the Cold Steel Cold 4 and I can't open it. Shit.